All right, everybody, I would like to go ahead and call to order the April 15th meeting of the Design Review Board. Will the board and the ex officio members please introduce themselves? We'll start over here with Lisa.
Sorry, Lisa Sorensen, Downtown Knoxville Alliance.
Sarah Martin, Urban Design Representative.
Tony Allen, Downtown Development Representative.
Cameron Boland, AIA Representative.
Rick Blackburn, Historic Zoning Commission.
Dallas D. Armand, Knoxville, Knox County Planning.
Jared Worsham, Downtown Resident Representative.
Mike Reynolds, Knoxville, Knox County Planning.
Melinda Woolert, Knoxville, Knox County Planning.
Samuel Hawk, also with Planning.
Perry Childress, Community Design Center.
Lisa Sear Burnett, Business Development Representative.
Christina McGraw, Tillery City Law Department.
Mark Reel, City of Knoxville Plans Review and Inspections.
The minutes of the March 18th board meeting are provided in the agenda packet. Are there any corrections? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'd motion to approve.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Okay. Motion carries. All right, and then we'll get a staff update. Oh, yes, real quick. We've got just a couple of other items. The workshop for after this has been postponed, and if you've not filled out the doodle poll to reschedule that, please do so. And then we also have two cases that we're going to postpone. Case number 2A26IH and 12E25IH for 30 days. So we'll need a motion and a second on those.
I would motion to postpone both those cases per staff recommendation for 30 days.
I'll second.
All right, a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, now we've got the staff.
So before we go into the level ones, I'm just going to make a quick announcement. Everybody should have received a flyer for what is called What's Next Knoxville for the update to the City of Knoxville's comprehensive plan. Just wanted to make you aware of this process. It's just being kicked off. Not this upcoming week, but the week after. So on April 26th through the 30th will be the first outreach meetings. If you can attend, that'd be great. Otherwise, you can follow what's happening on the What's Next Knoxville.com website. So the comprehensive plan, it sets out the future vision for the priorities for development in Knoxville over the next 25 years. So it's very important. It really sets the stage for how the community intends to develop over time. So anyway.
All right, so level one approval since the last meeting. We had these two new sheds in the backyard at 246 Cedar Avenue. We also had a new garage, a new carport with a little shed at 3221 Bellevue Street at the rear of the lot, access via the side street there. And we also had a new garage at 709 Watauga Avenue at the rear of the property, accessed from the alley.
All right, thank you. We will go ahead and get started. The first application is 8B25IH at 205 Chickamauga Avenue. Provide our overview.
Our first two cases are for two identical duplexes at 205 and 209 Chickamauga Avenue, which we will discuss together. The board postponed these cases at the March meeting to allow the applicant to clarify details on the porches. The duplexes measure 50-foot deep by 34-foot wide with two adjacent units, and the buildings will be set 21.4 feet from the front property line. Parking are concrete pads at the rear of the lot that are accessed via driveways from Chickamauga Avenue. The duplexes feature a side gable roof with lower front gable massings projecting from either side of the primary roof line, an exterior lap siding with board and batten accents, and a stucco-clad block foundation that is 5 foot tall at the facade. The design features an 8-foot deep front porch shared by both units, with steps that will project approximately 8 feet from the facade. The steps and porch flooring will be made of concrete with wood railings. A subdivision plat to create two 50-foot wide lots is included with the application. The applicant intends to use the middle housing standards. Some revisions to meet middle housing standards could require additional review by the board. The 21.4-foot front setback is the minimum allowed by middle housing standards, and the porches and their steps will project approximately 8 feet into the front setback. The adjacent one-story houses are set 12 feet and 27 feet from the front lot line, with their porches at approximately 8.6 feet and 19 feet. Increasing the front setback would likely result in a taller foundation. The block is characterized by minimal traditionals, modified Queen Anne cottages, and craftsman bungalows. The visual scale of the two-story buildings is increased by their 5-foot-tall foundation height, but it is broken up by the projecting steps and the shrubs next to the porch. The two identical duplexes will be differentiated by their siding colors. The board should discuss whether the front setbacks are appropriate and whether additional measures should be taken to differentiate the two identical adjacent buildings. Staff is recommending approval of certificates 8B25IH and 2D26IH, subject to the same following conditions. The final site plan to meet city engineering standards, meeting applicable standards of Article 4.6 and Article 9.3J, major changes to foundation height and porch steps to return to the board, and the trim dividing the stories, the accent siding, and the different siding colors be retained.
Thank you for that. Is the applicant present?
Yes, I am here.
Okay. Could you please state your name and address for the record, please?
Yes, sir. Jesse Alarcon, 4124 Oakland Drive.
Thank you. And is there anything that you would like to add for Melinda's comments?
No, sir. I just thank you all for your time, and hopefully this gets approved. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll open it up to the board for discussion.
Well, I'll lead off with, it looks like they were listening closely, and they've responded pretty much to all of the suggestions that we had brought about by combining the porch with central. It looks more like one house to fit the neighborhood, and there's only so much you can do with a tall foundation. I appreciate the shrubs and the clarification on the steps. So, I mean, with those, and knowing the challenges of this site, this entire street, most of them are fronted with a massive set of steps, and they've done what they could to reduce that here. So I think it looks pretty good.
Yeah, one of my only questions is honestly on the rear of the rear doors. Is there going to be any sort of coverage over those side by side before they step out to go down the stairs at the back?
I didn't have any plans for it. It was just doors like that. I've seen other plans in a similar fashion not have any coverage either.
Okay, and there's in one elevation, the left elevation shows a handrail, and in the rear elevation does not. It's going to be a handrail and framed like wood step system at the back?
No, the steps and porches will be concrete, and the steps will also be concrete. The handrails themselves will be wood.
Okay, so both on the front and the back?
Yes.
Okay. And there's something on my screen that like the rear elevation has a bunch of horizontal lines over between the first and second floor. Is that trying to articulate any sort of nuance in the siding, or is it just a glitch in the drawing itself?
I think it's a glitch. There was something I whited out there, and I tried to make the siding look exactly how it's going to be, just put the lines back.
Okay,
but
so
it's just going to be regular siding.
It's just lap siding continuing up. Okay.
Yeah.
I appreciate all the changes you've made. I think you've listened really closely, just like Perry said. My one concern is the front porch where it says smooth, painted smooth. I'm curious, what material is that? And I imagine there'll be joints in there somewhere. I'm just afraid that those joints will become more apparent over time if they're not paid attention to.
Yeah, this, I guess I must have missed that part, but is it all right if I do lap siding on that one? on just that front part?
I would be fine with that. I think that's
Okay.
probably the preference of the board.
And then one other thing to add to that on that same note, the front doors have no articulation in them at all. Is there more information in the submission of what how the front doors will be segmented? I guess the same question for the back doors, like what's glass, what's solid? That's not just going to be a smooth painted. It says multi-panel door, I guess, is what the intention is.
They're usually I put the note multi-panel door, and we get the doors afterwards when we do the lumber package and all that stuff.
Okay, well, the fact that the notes there at least gives us something to lean on if it doesn't in fact become a multi-panel door. I just wanted something on the drawing for the COA,
Yeah.
so in case we don't want a smooth panel door.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, if there's no other comments, I'll make a motion to approve with the one change to the painted smooth porch gable to become painted lap siding.
Second.
All right, so we've got a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion?
Are both of these the exact same front elevation?
Yes, they're the same outside of siding colors.
Okay. So same goes for both cases.
If it's okay, let's have a separate motion, one per property. but
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Sure.
Postponements are kind of another thing, but yeah, for the individual approval.
Okay, so I motion to approve per staff recommendation with the change to the gable becoming lap siding for case 8B25IH.
A second.
All right, we've got a motion and a second. Any discussion on that? Any further discussion on that? All right. All right, hearing none. Let's see. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, motion carries. And then I guess we'll do the second one.
I motion to approve case 2D26IH per staff recommendation with the change of the front gable to become a lap siding.
Second.
All right, we've got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. All right.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Right. We are skipping down to 1914 Huron Street, which is 4B26IH.
Right. This case is for 21 new townhouse units fronting East Churchwell Avenue. The front setbacks vary from approximately 13 feet to 15 feet due to the staggered units, and the buildings are relatively evenly spaced from each other in the side streets. The site is accessed via a driveway that extends between the side streets, Huron Street and Mary Street, and St. Mary Street, and leads to a large shared parking lot behind the buildings. Each 7-unit, 3-story townhouse grouping features alternating patterns of 3 different unit styles, unified by a 512 pitch side gable roof that is staggered upwards along grade. There are retaining walls on the side elevations of each building. All units feature a 7.9-foot deep front porch with different roofs for each unit, with different siding for each unit style. The unit styles include a lap siding style, a board and batten style with bay windows on the facade, and a mixed siding style with lap and board and batten siding, and a 10-12 pitch front gable roof. A special use case for a 21-unit townhouse development in the RN4 district was approved at the April Planning Commission meeting. The lot occupies the entire block face and establishes a new setback pattern with pedestrian connections to all abutting streets and to community amenities in the broader development. The landscaping placement is appropriate. The trees in the front yard should be native or naturalized shade trees as opposed to the ornamental trees currently proposed. Any exposed sections of the foundation and the retaining walls on the side elevation should be parge-coated, clad in stucco, or clad in brick veneer. While the 3-story buildings are taller and at a higher grade, Then the single-family houses on the other side of East Churchwell Avenue, they will provide a transition from the neighboring 5-story multifamily buildings in the broader development that are not within the infill housing overlay. The existing retaining wall is being removed, and the site will be graded to bring the buildings lower to the street. The 3 front porch designs introduce architectural variety to the buildings that align with the context. The columns should be at least 6 by 6, and the brick veneer on the porch foundation should be retained. The guidelines discourage board and batten siding, which is typically approved as an accent material only. Approximately half of the facades are clad in board and batten, while the other half are clad in the lap siding that is recommended by the guidelines. The variety of siding styles and colors helps break up the large buildings into smaller sections, but the board and batten siding emphasizes the building's height. The board should discuss whether the use of board and batten siding is appropriate. The buildings are differentiated by their pattern of the 3 unit styles. However, additional architectural features could be added to differentiate the buildings and reflect the historic context, which primarily features minimal traditionals and Tudor cottages. Staff is recommending approval of Certificate 4B26IH, subject to the following conditions: receiving special use approval for 4C26SU, which they did, and meeting any applicable conditions of approval, meeting city engineering standards and any applicable zoning standards, including Article 9.3I and Article 12, with minor revisions to be approved by staff, the trees in the front yard to be native or naturalized shade trees, any exposed sections of foundation and the retaining walls on the side elevations to be parge-coated, clad in stucco or clad in brick veneer, and the porch columns to be at least 6 by 6, and the brick veneer cladding on the porch foundations to be retained.
Thank you, Melinda. And the applicant is present. If you'll, yeah, there we go. Can you please state your name and address for the record, please?
Sure. Good afternoon. My name is Ben Hudgens. Address is 530 Mean Street, Suite 105, Atlanta, Georgia 30318.
Thank you. Is there anything that you'd like to add to Melinda's comments?
We did provide some updated imagery. Yeah, perfect. So a couple of things. Got good feedback at the workshop. The things that we looked at specifically were taking the 3 facade types, reconsidering the use of lap siding versus board and batten. So you'll notice the far right facade type has gone from all board and batten to mostly lap siding, with the attic story being board and batten. The other big move was looking at the porches as individual distinct characters per facade type. So you'll notice the one on the right has the extended porch going across the majority of the facade, more columns, different column detailing, gable porch in the middle, and then the smaller shed roof there on the left. So one of the comments that we got at the workshop was the repetition and monotony of the gable porch, the staccato porch all the way down the street was a little bit overwhelming. So this was one of the biggest moves, which I think is pretty impactful and pretty helpful. So that's where we were focused. Go to the next slide. Yep, so you can see, again, how that plays out across the facade. Next slide, please. And then the variation on the facade created by those different porch expressions does make the block feel a little more house-like and a little bit less townhome-like. So I think that was good feedback, something that we took to heart, and I think improves the project. Next slide. Again, the use of the gable at the top roof, and then the gable and the shed roof down low at the porches provides some massing relief along the long frontage.
All right, thank you. I will kind of kick us off. I really appreciate the differentiation in the porches. I think that was one thing that came up for me last time. So I really appreciate that that's been addressed. I think, to your point, I think that really kind of breaks up the facade a little bit.
Yeah, I agree, and I appreciate, Jared, you're the one that brought that up, so I think that was a valid point. I wanted to ask Ben, now that we've had more time to study the plans and the drawings and everything, the biggest outlier is that they're 3 stories. We know that they're tall, and I understand it's the section from from grade to be able to make that work. But the more I look at the ground level plan of them and like what units have a unit down there and what units don't, it's every other has a bed in the floor plan. It looks as though, depending on how you address the retaining wall and the way that the lower level is set, that there was opportunity to not have these at 3 stories. There's almost the bottom floor almost seems like a waste of square footage. And personally, like the size of the units they're pretty large. And I know that we're not talking about Perform or any of that. And I know that the Dominion is here and they know all this stuff better than I do. But it just seems like they're pretty big buildings for what I assume is going to be market rate and then some affordable subsidized housing. But can you speak to the logic as to why a 2-story option was not employed in this concept?
Sure. So, and Rob Talbot is here. He may be able to speak better to the size of the townhome units. It is all affordable. Go back to the section, Melinda, if you don't mind. The site section.
Yeah, because that back elevation, when you enter the back, I know you have to have parking behind it. It looks like you can access it on that second floor, which would be the top floor if it wasn't 3 stories.
So there's a 1-story drop between the parking side and the Churchwell side.
Right.
We can't bring, I mean, you can occupy that lower floor further to the right in this section, but it doesn't daylight. And there's no way to get it to daylight and marry up with the grades as they fall down St. Mary Street and Huron. Because remember, the grades are we're tying into the existing grades along the street. So we're gonna have a step there regardless. We can only occupy about half of that depth, just because it gets dark in the back. That's another reason that we introduced a bedroom suite at that the street level on half the units. It changes the bedroom count from a 3-bedroom townhome to a 4-bedroom. If they all go to 4, then it kind of skews the project too big, too many beds, and doesn't provide the variety and housing type. So the challenge, if we were to go from this 2.5, which is 3 along the street side, and reduce a floor, the top floor are the bedrooms, and the middle floor is the living space, kitchen, powder room, and living room. There's really nowhere to get that program back.
Okay. So the if you go to the rear elevation to where they get out of their car and enter the back, not the street side, but the interior, that.
Yes.
So you're saying that as you continue, I guess, east, there'll be a moment where that first floor, the middle floor, is not following grade, and it would be below. So like.
No, the middle floor is always
Consistent,
above grade.
right, and you're stepping it.
If we reduced all this by 1 floor, then that middle floor would be buried.
Well, what if the top floor is gone, and so the part about the basement, the lowest level, not being able to dig more into the hillside, is that, you said it'd be dark, but I've seen projects that are embedded in the hillside. Is there more than that? It's dark, or is it?
Well, the depth of unit to glazing gets out of whack. I mean, it's basically the depth of a bedroom, bathroom, closet. Anything beyond that is too far from the glass. You're not getting light. So you're suggesting the bedrooms at the top go all the way down to the lowest floor, but that would be, half of that floor is below grade.
Yeah, I won't belabor it too much more. I'm not designing it for you, but I would think the bedrooms would become the second floor, and then all the amenities, the kitchen and whatever, would be on the very ground floor to where you open out to the street. But I know that brings challenges to then the front door is opening into a hallway or a bedroom on the upper level, and it doesn't make sense. But I just, like I said, this is the first time I got to really study the bottom floor. There's a lot of retaining wall. There's a lot of poche space there of grade, and I'm just trying to understand why it wasn't used, and I hear you now a bit better. Can you explain what the program is for the bottom floor that does not have a bedroom in it? So like every other unit that just has those two boxes with the stair coming down to it?
That's right. So for the units that don't have the bedroom suite at that lowest level, they basically get a den or an office condition.
Okay.
So instead of having a full bathroom, a walk-in closet, so that's the bedroom condition, the larger one, and then the smaller one you see there is just an office den type space at that ground floor with steps leading up to the main floor.
Yeah.
But this is a good illustration. So if you imagine the full depth of those townhomes extending south on the page, it's very little fenestration for 42 feet of
You'd have to
depth.
think about light wells, and it's also north facing, so you're not getting any southern light in that would be helpful.
Yeah.
I get it. And I guess the reason I'm asking all of this is that I really would hope that this isn't an interior faced project, and that street facing, like those hero images that you have of the cars parked on the street and people walking around, the units that are the den or otherwise, like the family or families, however it works, they're living there. It'll be interesting to see, do they choose to be at their front porch on the street, or do they choose to hang out up top interior to their development? Because I think what would be special is that if this actually was occurring, what you're showing in the renderings. So I really want to see that. The project's failed if the front porch isn't used. That's the difference in when you drive through our neighborhoods as opposed to like Sequoia Hills, where you've got single family homes pulled off the street. Oakwood Lincoln Park, people sit out on their front porch and engage their neighbors and talk to each other and all of that. So that's the hope of the comments that I'm making.
Understood. Thank you.
I've got one quick question. So in your comments, you talked about there being a little bit of difference in detail on the front porch columns. Could you talk a little more about that? And then, because one of the recommendations in the staff recommendation, or one of the conditions in the staff recommendation, was that they at least be 6 by 6, and then retaining that brick veneer. Is that the plan?
Yeah. So the brick veneer at the stoops, which you can see, as well as that lower foundation. The porch columns, we looked at a variety of porch column options, including smaller double columns, which got a little busy. I'm not sure it shows up well here, but really the treatment in the column caps and the bases and how those are trimmed out, the specific size of the columns. Obviously, this porch, a little more expansive, wants to be a little heavier. What's shown here is, I believe this is a 10-inch column. The other ones, I think, are 8. So again, how that gets detailed out, the railing, the difference between the gable with the lap infill and the frieze board versus the monoslope standing seam and its detailing. So that's all I was suggesting, is those tend to each take their own slightly different character in detailing. The doors are all shown the same, quarter light per the guidelines. I would expect those to be consistent, but again, the porches just have very subtle differences.
Thank you.
I think the project's vastly improved from the workshop. Just to start out, I like how you went with horizontal siding to wrap the outer corners. I think that really helps to break down the scale as you approach. I'm kind of with Cameron on the outdoor space. I think I would have liked to have seen some more outdoor space for the units that have stoops. Like, I don't know if there's a way to have a balcony or something like that. That gets carved out of the floor plan, or some space carved out at the back. It seems like the parking kind of takes up everything, so I don't know if there's shared outdoor space within the whole development that Is that the
There
thinking
is.
behind that?
Yep, good question. So you'll notice on this plan, so the T-shaped building there is the existing hospital building that's being obviously renovated and repurposed. The new construction building is that F-shaped building. Yep, just to the left there. The space that's framed by those two buildings is a green courtyard space. You see the sidewalk circulation that cuts through there. There's also green space on the east side of the hospital building, and that the length of that all the way to St. Mary's Street, including a dog park, which is accessible to public and neighbors. That's something that came up early on during neighborhood conversations, was the desire to have that dog park. So that was always programmed in. So there are those green spaces throughout the overall master development. We also do have those the little pocket park spaces that occur between the townhome units, and then we are offset at the corners a little bit to provide a little relief there.
Can you explain the little spots between the townhouse units a little bit more? What is that like from a pedestrian standpoint?
So the expectation is that you wouldn't necessarily be walking from the parking between those buildings, because again, we have a one-story grade change there. So expectation is if you're parking here and walking to the fronts of those, you'd be walking around. But the folks who live here are going to park here and walk directly in at that main living level. If they're on foot, out the front door and to the sidewalk, those spaces between the towns are generally expected to be more at the sidewalk elevation, and then step up to the parking.
So is there a retaining wall at the parking side and it's open to the street mostly? So they would
That's right.
access that from their front door?
That's right. So you're going to have a wall to deal with that grade change. I mean, we assume the wall back towards the parking with more vegetation low is better than pushing the wall out towards the street and creating that block facing wall along the street edge.
Is there an opportunity to add a staircase so there's a pass through there? I'm just curious about that becoming enclosed and someone kind of getting trapped in there in a safety situation.
Sure.
I don't really understand it. So there's the site plan just shows grade falling. Where's the retaining wall? Maybe Melinda or whoever's running can highlight it with their cursor.
Yeah, I don't think it's depicted on that landscape plan, but there's a one-story grade change.
Yeah, I get the grade change for sure, but I thought from that site plan, it just looks like it's the landscape cascading between the buildings.
Yeah, I think they're just not clearly depicting the wall that happens between the buildings. Yeah.
Is it included in this package anywhere for us to review?
Nope, I believe so.
Okay. Well, if it's not included, that's something that needs to be included. I mean, I think that's a different experience walking down the street to seeing grass rise up to the parking lot above in between the units rather than, and when I say in between the units, I'm saying in between the chunks of 7. There's like an entire unit of green space between it is what I've imagined. But you're saying there's a retaining wall there. It's a retaining wall and then 8 foot of drop and then landscape?
Melinda, zoom into that. Yeah, so, I mean, it looks like here the
just a big slope there.
Landscape plan is just sloping up.
Which I think would be better than a retaining wall and a exposed face of concrete and then 8 feet of that before the landscape starts. So that needs to be articulated or understood as a part of the package. I think another piece that I wanted to comment on, like I think for the caliber of project, and then for this neighborhood too, and the money that's being spent on this, like you guys are doing fiber cement on the housing, and that's better than the vinyl that we normally get. I think that the option by staff to clad the exposed brick or exposed retaining wall on the side of the building, I think that I personally would want that to not be parge coated, and I think this project can bear to have brick or the siding be reconsidered how it actually envelops that side of the exposed retaining wall. So like, if I know that there's going to be depth issues on that, I totally understand it, but like that exposed concrete wall there is the project's buttoned up all around it except those ends. It's like that's an afterthought. So either the base of the brick goes, and unfortunately it'd have to have the stair step up, and that's masonry. But just the saddlebag of concrete exposed I don't think is worthy of just having parge coating on it. Because as you can see around that neighborhood, parge coating's done, and it starts to fall apart really quickly in our neighborhoods.
So back to the retaining wall point. Obviously, I misspoke about the retaining wall. The intent from the landscape architect appears to just slope between the townhomes like that section showed. Now, granted, the section is showing at the street elevation or the ends of the street, but again, everything's matching the existing grade. So I'm not sure there's a whole lot to add there unless it were a landscape plan of that space. I don't know if that changes the conversation about having steps or a path through there, or whether you want that to be more green. But
Yeah, I tend to support Tony's comment about if there were a path or stairs or something there that might encourage more use of the street from the parking in the back to where, it's more ambiguous about where's the front. We want the front to be on the street. Of course, the parking is primarily on the back. So if it were in such a way that if they choose to use the street as their main door, they could park behind it, trot down those stairs, and go in what we want to be the front door. It at least gives them that opportunity.
Yeah, and if it is just green space, people will make that a path whether we put one there or not, I'm afraid. So it's definitely an opportunity for the project. One, it could be landscape. Two, it could have a stair system in some capacity down the middle of it. Could you comment on those side elevations too, Ben? The comments.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
I made the comments that
the brick.
Yes, and not parge coat.
Yeah, no objection.
Okay.
It looks like there's some trees along Churchwell. Do you know if those are going to be able to be retained, or will those just be taken out with construction?
Rob may be better able to answer this. I suspect that through construction, the existing trees, there are none here, but they're further down. I don't know that those can be retained, but the expectation is to replant trees along that edge. So,
okay.
But I just the construction and logistics of maintaining those trees through construction is unlikely. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I wasn't sure how those current existing trees may line up with how the buildings are broken up with the space between. So that's where my brain was at on that.
Sure.
Ben, that KCDC project that I told you about, you were here last time, they have a similar condition over there. They just finished Western Heights Phase 1, and they treated this with landscape between the buildings like that as well. Same slope almost. Now they had more terraces than this, and on the terraces, they did have stairs or accessibility,
okay.
But on a small area like this, which I measured off your plans about 40 feet.
It's just graded up.
Yeah, yeah.
Looks nice.
Yeah, so far.
No paths are worn through there yet?
All right. Well, if there's no further discussion, I'll entertain a motion.
I did want to have one more. Ben, you showed us the revisions you made on the siding material, but we still have one version of the unit that is all board and batten. That's what's in our package? Is that still what's being proposed? Is that within that patterning, there's one that's fully 3 levels of board and batten?
Yeah, that's what we're proposing, but that could go to lap siding. That's not,
Yeah,
to me, that's not a priority for us to maintain board and batten. We were just trying to provide some variety.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, and I get it. It's the flat, it's the other side of the gable. It makes sense. Like the other ones that have the accent kind of end gable condition make more sense to have that batten finish there. Was it studied with the 2/3, 1/3 of different materials with those units in between? Or where you could like two levels of lap, 1 level of board and batten on those in-between units, and then have, was that studied too?
We studied a variety of combinations. This one, we overframed that window grouping to create that bay condition here. Yeah. And it just felt with that sort of vertical, it just felt right to continue to the verticality of the board and batten. But again, that's going to lap siding there isn't gonna, that doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah, I just wonder if maybe the base only is lap, and then you let floors 2 and 3 be board and batten, and that's kind of in the spirit of us always looking for like board and batten as an accent, which in that case it's more, but I do agree that the height of it's accentuated with that batten strip going
it
30
does,
feet.
Yeah, it does take your eye all the
Does
way up.
Anybody
to
else
the, to
have
the
an
roof line.
opinion about that?
I actually don't think I mind it because they're kind of they're minimized by being sandwiched between the others, and they're already kind of lower with the eave being lower than the gables. So I personally don't mind.
I think one of them is currently proposed to be the mix with the horizontal and board and batten, is it not? Yes.
It is, Perry.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I don't mind the batten when it does really look tall, but that accentuates the difference among them.
It's 2 versus 1. I think we're okay with the vertical board and batten.
Whatever you guys want.
All right, do we have a motion?
I think just back to last point, back to the landscaped areas between, I think if you could just study the landscaping more, I think adding landscaping and thinking about how the residents are going to be using it, I think would go a long way to making this community feel whole and part of the greater neighborhood. I'll make a motion to approve per staff recommendation with adding Cameron's note to wrap the concrete ends with brick face brick.
Would you like to modify condition 4 so that exposed section of the foundation and the retaining wall could only be clad in brick veneer?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll second that.
All right, so we've got a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? All right. Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed, no. All right, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Now we will move on to the downtown design certificates of appropriateness, and starting with 4B26 DT 319 South Gay Street.
Okay, great. So this is a revision to a previous approval. It was original application was 8A25DT. And you'll probably remember this one, probably that we're on the board at the time, discussion about the solid main entrance door. which is still recommended to be brought back at a future date. The main difference between this new proposal and the previous is anything on the upper facade, so second and third level, facing either gay or wall, it's going to be retained as is. So they had some modifications last time. Those have been removed from the scope. I guess on the strong alley side, strong street side, that there is 2 new windows, but I'll go over those in just a second. So just again, looking at the Gay Street side, nothing's really changed here other than they're not touching those upper levels. Just kind of going back to the entrance, just remember this hasn't changed. It's still the same. It's a kind of a portal, tunnel entrance. The main doors will still be solid. They'll be opened during business hours so that what you see in the background through that entrance is still like a storefront, clear, open passage. Storefronts, again, will stay the same for the rest of the ground floor. And again, nothing's really changed here again with the material choices. And so now going to the Wall Street side, Avenue side, this did change just a little bit. The westernmost bay is going to remain as is, has these marble panels in it, so those will be retained. Before, there was a partial inclusion of a storefront system. The door in the second bay is still solid. It was solid before, but it was kind of like two doors, so it was a double door. Now it's a single door, more like the front Gay Street side. There was more storefront entrances on this elevation. They've taken it back to the only one additional ground floor entrance, which is kind of like the current condition of this facade. Otherwise, the storefronts are generally staying the same. This is just the site plan, just in case anybody needs to review it. And I think I skipped over the rear elevation. I just totally left it out, didn't I? Which is fine. It's 2 new windows that'll look exactly like the other windows on the far left side of the facade on the rear, on the alley side. 1 on each floor. Linda will get it here in just a second. Next one. Let's keep on. There. So you see the 2 new windows on the far left side of this elevation. They'll look exactly like existing windows, the same trim and everything. So.
Thank you. Is the applicant present?
We are.
Can you state your name and address for the record, please?
Yes, it's Amy Sherrill, 902 North Central Street.
All right. Any additional comments to Mike's?
No, I think Mike summarized it nicely. Again, the lower floor is exactly as presented previously. The primary here is actually reduction of scope. The intended uses on the upper floor is different, and so we no longer need the balcony and some of those other features. So I think maybe the only other inclusion was a picture of a door that the owner gave us as their intent of what that door will look like. Again, I know you all asked for a specific product, or at least a lot more clarity on what those doors might look like. So that picture was included to give you that. If you still feel you need more, we can come back again.
So just to clarify, so the staff recommendation, since everything's the same as the last approval, first 3 conditions are exactly the same. Retain clear windows on ground floor. Windows are to be constructed as depicted, and so on. Number 3 is the final design of the wood door come back to the board. And then number 4, only mention this only because it says to retain existing signs on the plan. Is that the signage plan does have to come back to the board, and there's no guarantee that those existing signs will be able to be retained through the review and approval process. So.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, we'll open it up to the board for discussion.
I think I personally like the reductionist scope. I think retaining a lot of the historic character is a nice feature to the building, and especially retaining the historic windows, transom windows. I think they add a lot of character to it. What was the ground floor additional storefront previously, and can you speak to why that changed?
So, and I guess it's a little bit of a, a complicated thing here when you come talking about storefronts on a street, because I honestly would prefer to keep it that we approve with the entrances on all of them, because over time, we don't know how those tenants are going to be broken up. And at current, there's level changes along the street that make it a little more complicated to have more. So we were simplifying by showing one, because you're going to have some type of a step or ramp situation into that suite. So over time, they could be coming back to ask for breaking that into two. So it would be nice if we could approve it under what was already there to give flexibility, but this would be, in the instance that there's not a door, it's going to be closed, right?
I think one thing that comes to mind with this is that we just approved the embassy added a space, I believe, that we reviewed recently. So I don't know if there's really precedent for approving anything that's possible. I don't know if staff might have comment on that.
And it may just require coming back, and it's okay.
Yeah, it'd probably be best to come back. I think, so basically, if I remember correctly, it was just the middle bay, because those other two ground floors, it's broken into three, like the storefront has three sections to it, and the middle was just the door, so it was basically popping out. The door was going to be there, or the glass was going to be there, is that right? Or was it a little bit different?
So the one on the far left was omitted. We no longer are using that as a storefront. So that is going back to its current condition. The storefronts, they're you have the door entrance, you have two storefronts without doors, and then you have a storefront with a door. It is possible over time that those would be three separate tenants by the nature of the intent of the building and what they're marketing for construction's sake, and this whole idea of you're building these vanilla shells and you never know what's going to happen. We simplified for the sake of plans review. And until they have a tenant locked in, we don't have a way to guarantee. And I'd rather not have, there's several instances of doors above grade that, there's one in Pete's restaurant that's like at table level, right? That's like the door that might happen. And I'd rather not have a door and add a door if there's a store than have just a bunch of locked doors personally, but.
Yeah, I think I was asking mostly out of curiosity. I think the way that where the storefronts are located is nicely located beneath, double windows, and it just makes sense. And there's always bays that can be altered later.
And that particular entrance is where the current entrance is, but it's pushed back. That's where the ATM and all was previously. So we're pulling that out to incorporate more footage, but it is you can see where the mouse is currently. And that was, if it is one, that was our preference, is to keep it there because it's nice balance and it kind of plays to the current condition. So.
Can I ask a question on Wall Avenue? We've got the precast infill at the flying beam, but adjacent to it, there's still glass remaining. Is that the design intent, or is that going to, like in those renderings that you show, it just looks like a black band that goes the whole way above the storefront? On that image where it's showing the infill of the precast, it's showing glass next to it. What's the design intent there?
You're seeing the 8 squares?
Yes.
That is existing granite detail.
That's
They're
granite.
a little inset granite tile almost.
Okay.
And so that is actually the existing, there's a existing little detail over there.
So it'll have this solid precast, and then they'll all get stained to be one color, so it just all looks congruent.
Yes. All of the precast is being stained. The granite's being left as is.
Granite would be left as is. Okay, so it's just a kind of a saddlebag detail of that. And we talked about this the last time. There's like there's like 3 or 4 different, maybe 3 approaches to the storefront. Like the Gay Street side has this asymmetry to the way it's broken up. And then as you wrap around to Wall Street, one of the horizontal mullions doesn't align with all the horizontal mullions everywhere else. It's dropped by 6 or 8 inches, and they're all very regular and not like the justified. And I know that they're reacting to doors on the Gay Street side, but there's something about the patterning that you'd think would have some sort of reference to itself as you go around.
So the proportions of the openings are different, the grade is different. Facing Gay Street versus Wall Street are 2 conditions. So I hear you, but there are different situations that we're having to react to in each of those that, the floor level is continuous and the sidewalk is not.
Right.
So we did make adjustments as we came around the corner.
One question came up for me. The metal detailing that's there, kind of on the Gay Street side, that's being removed?
Yes.
Okay. And then the other question that I had, on Wall Street, or Wall Avenue, sorry, the wooden door. I know the previous submission that was going to, I think, 1 residence. What's the kind of intent with that entrance and that solid door there?
So in doing the detail of, it's a very similar portal, but it's a smaller scale because it's a different entrance and has different intent. One door wasn't going to be, it would end up being a mixed leaf size or something odd. So it ended up looking better as a larger single panel. And again, it will be able to pin and open in a similar configuration. This is a hotel. It's a boutique hotel that's based around the concept of the art in the gallery. So there's a certain experience that the owner is trying to create, but that similar idea as the rendering we gave on the front entrance.
So the intent of it is to leave them pinned almost exclusively?
It'll have to be by code.
So the rendering of Wall Avenue shows the back, the flying beam and all that with infill, just solid black. There's no granite exposed. So which one are we approving today? Is it exposed pink granite infilled within the flying beam as in the elevation drawing, or is it the rendering at the very bottom page where it's just solid black the whole way? That's why I asked if the granite was being stained.
That's fine. So the elevation is the construction drawing. That is the one to go by. You asked for some illustrations to help you better visualize what we were intending. And as you know, sometimes you're trying to show intent without incorporating every detail. So some of the details are left out of the rendering.
Okay, so it's just that the rendering's nicer, like to have like a consistent black band the whole way. I feel like that would be more of your design intent, but you're saying that it'll be broken up every other bay with the 8 granite infill pink?
Only where they exist now. So we're already keeping the granite base and the pieces up the columns, and so this was, the intent is to try and incorporate some of that existing detail and staining the entirety of the precast only.
Okay. Is there no work being done to the upper brick at all? It's just staying as is?
Staying as is. Be cleaned.
Yeah. Well, I understand what your response was on the storefront as you wrap from Gay Street to Wall Avenue. And yeah, they are different conditions, but it's red as a corner. But be that as it may, like you're the architects on it, so if you want to have similar patterning or not, I know you're responding to multiple different things, but there is, it's very subtle, but an oddity for the fact that the horizontal mullion in the storefront on the corner of Wall is dropped by about 6 or 8 inches opposed to the adjacent storefront next to it. So I don't know why those wouldn't align, and it'd be the same, no, it'd just be that one. It's the only horizontal that doesn't match with all the other ones that you've drawn in your elevation. So I assume that's not your design intent, and if it is, it is. I think that I'd include in the motion just to have that aligned where there's at least just like a consistent horizontal across the whole facade. It's pretty small, I think.
So I hear what you're saying. What we did is intentional. You very rarely experience the building in that exact perspective of looking both streets at the same time. Architects excluded, right? We look at the world a little differently when we walk down streets, but as it continues down Wall Street, where do you stop? And so the consistency along the entire street seemed to maybe weigh more than bending the corner and then figuring out how to stop beyond there. So you have to make a choice, one or the other, and we made the other.
Yeah, I don't understand. It's just where that horizontal storefront band goes on the Wall Avenue elevation. It just would have to be that, like in that rendering, that horizontal, storefront mullion, that right there, it just has to go up 6 inches to match the other ones. You're saying that was intentional?
That is aligned. That one is aligned. I thought you meant, there's another detail on the Gay Street that's a lower mullion. I thought you were talking about it not being
No,
included.
go to Wall Avenue,
No,
south elevation.
that one would be aligned. From
It's-
the ceiling down is fine. It's the other direction that.
The one that she's circling right there, if you zoom in on it, it's just.
That's an unintentional misalignment.
All right, that's all I'm asking.
Yeah.
And I assumed that, so I was just making sure that, we have
Yeah,
to
that
approve
one-
what's drawn.
Yeah, that one would be aligned. I thought you meant that there's another mullion added on the front, so.
Nope, just the main.
One other question I had, and I realize the condition is that all existing and new signs are subject to DRB approval. I think there's existing banners that were added on Wall Avenue that aren't depicted here. Are those they're kind of low hanging. Are those gonna be retained, or are those being removed? They're, again, not pictured. I walked up by it on my way up here today, and they were on there.
I'm not familiar
There's
with
like
those either.
pennant banners. Anybody else notice those as they've walked by?
Is it like when they do big ears or something like that, the ones the city puts up?
Kind of like that, but they're
Okay.
attached to the building.
Oh.
They're kind of
I
low
haven't-
hanging.
I haven't seen those, so it has happened since I noticed, so.
Anyways,
So your intention is if they're there, they're not going to be forever,
So
right?
our intention is to come back with a sign package that would include all building signage, building brand, and all of the tenants and everything all at one time, and
Yeah.
that would include all signage, so.
Okay.
all right. Well, is there any other discussion? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
If you want to just clarify, maybe in condition number 2, where it says that windows to be constructed as depicted. I mean, this is a storefront system, but if we want to just clarify in that condition that one ban, good.
Sure. So yeah, I'll make a motion to approve per staff recommendation and just add the modified or added condition that the horizontal storefront mullions are consistent at the door heads and across the facade.
I'll second that.
All right, so we've got a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion?
I just want to say I am happy to have, I hope some storefronts are in there sometime soon, so thank
Us
you.
too.
Yeah.
All right. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. All right, motion carries. Thank you. All right, we are going to move on to 305 West Vine Avenue, which is 4A26 DT.
Okay, so this is a new primary structure on the site, which is currently a surface parking lot. And as well as a steep slope that kind of goes down towards Jackson Avenue. There's quite a few slides in here. I'm not going to touch on everything that's in them. A lot of the slides are just there just in case we have discussion and we need to reference back to them. As you can see on the site plan, the building will be pushed to the western side of the site. The footprint is pretty small compared to the site in general. And it's approximately across from the Immaculate Conception Church. It is a little bit offset from it. You'll see that in another site plan in a moment. I just have a couple of aerials just to show, what 2016 condition looks like. You can see the new structures on Vine and Gay Street being constructed in this as well. So it's kind of nice to see a little bit more context. So I'm not going to belabor on those. Going to the front elevations, the majority of the all elevations is brick. There's two different tones of brick, and then that's on the first 3 levels primarily. The 4th level does incorporate more fiber cement board. Again, that kind of wraps around the entire building except for the corners of the back elevation where there's larger balconies. Those do have more fiber cement on them as well. There is a tuck under garage, what you kind of see in the side elevation. There's 2 access points to this property, one near the existing driveway, which is near the Ryan's Row townhouses. That will be pushed a little bit to the east on the site. The other entrance to their parking lot is a new one. It's to the far eastern end of their parking lot, so kind of downhill on Vine. The parking lot will go underneath the building, so it's one continuous drive aisle parking area. I included this image because it was with the original submittal. I didn't include it in the packet because they did make some minor changes, but it does give a good sense of what the building will look like, more than just the flat color elevations. But there are some just minor tweaks, so I didn't want to put it in the packet. So 2 different views from Vine Avenue. Staff recommendation is to approve Certificate 4A26DT, subject to the following conditions: meeting all applicable standards of the zoning ordinance and the final plan set, meeting all applicable requirements of the Department of Engineering and the city's Urban Forestry Division. Number 3, submitting the signage package for consideration of approval under a separate application. Number 4, submitting the landscape package for consideration of approval by the board under a separate application, and that the brick and fiber cement trim detailing at the parapet, articulations of all elevations, and the location and detailing of the exterior building are to be in keeping with these plans during permitting and construction. One quick note about the condition number 2, working with the Department of Engineering. Probably needs they'll probably look a little bit closer detailing of the western entrance during permitting. We didn't get into the discussion and detail of what that will look like yet from an engineering standpoint. A little bit of concern about how close that is to the intersection with Walnut. If they feel that there needs to be some channelization of that entrance so that people don't try to turn from Walnut down the wrong way on Vine and then quickly turn into their parking lot, then that kind of decision will be made during permitting. It's not something that I don't think we need to necessarily have that conversation as part of this review. I don't think it really changes much from our perspective.
All right, thank you, Mike. Is the applicant present? If you'll click the little person, there you go, and then state your name for the...
Daniel Smith, Fourth Creek Capital, 6513 Kingston Pike, Suite 107. Lee Birch.
Lee Birch, 727 Chihuahua Circle.
All right, thank you. Any additional comments to what Mike presented?
I guess a few comments. One on the access point to the lot. Currently, it's a 70, 80 car
80,
lot,
yeah.
something like 80 cars. We are taking up more spaces in terms of, and we're not putting back the same amount of parking underneath the building because we'll have losses just from the foundation and and making it all work with the columns. So there'll be less traffic coming in and out of the site. We're proposing the addition of another entrance and exit to the east, and we're keeping the existing access point essentially to where it currently is. So we'll work with the engineering department. Obviously, they'll have their input, but in some ways, we are reducing the amount of traffic coming out of that lot at that exact point. I think that's all for now.
All right, thank you. We'll open it up to the board for discussion.
I think on that same, just talking about parking and that sort of thing, can you talk about the inset stucco areas at the base? I don't really understand what's happening there.
That's a concrete column. That's what you're pointing to right there?
No.
It's just an opening in the, are you talking about the garage level, the basement level?
Yeah, is that just
It's
an
just
opening?
Yeah, so it's just
That's
it's just a
looking-
grayed out effect. It's just an opening.
That's on the north side of the project. If you were on the street on Jackson and looked up, you wouldn't be able to see that. So that's to have the airflow for the vehicles that are down below, the carbon monoxide.
But he was thinking that was stucco, but it's actually open air.
Yeah, I was just reading the diagram below it that the color matches it exactly and says stucco. But I get the paint now. Those are paint colors. I get it. So that's open. And our guidelines, because it's not facing the street, is okay with it not having any sort of screening at a parking area.
I think we will come back with a landscape plan, and there will be landscaping in that area. Outside the building footprint, there's still, before the grade really takes off, we will have an opportunity to have landscaping back there. And there will be some, I don't know exactly what, there may be ornamental fencing or something like that will.
Yeah, I know when this project came originally, when it was a lot larger, that we talked a lot about the screening of the parking.
It was fully approved for 110 or 120 units. A very similar building. It's shrunk down for a lot of reasons. But we also did the Stockyard Lofts project, and we did use some screening there, but we're not far enough along on the landscape to really have the correct screening there.
Okay. But I'll ask our team, is screening required per our guidelines for the parking?
Yep.
So the guidelines speak more to surface parking lot screening. So they were mentioning about bringing back landscape plan that will be as part of that screening from the Vine Avenue sidewalk, the screening on that frontage. Were you speaking about the backside of the parking lot as well?
Yeah, it looks like the northwest and the southwest elevation will have exposed open parking, which I guess from your words, Mike, you just said surface parking and it's not structured parking, so that's the difference.
We do, when we have projects that open face garages towards it right away, we typically do ask for some level of screening anyways, because it's kind of the same thing ultimately. So here from Vine, you're really not going to see much from that parking structure part of this. It's going to be totally under the building. You really will only see it if you're down on Jackson.
What was it about the original? Was it just like it was two or three levels of structured parking? Is that why we were talking so much about the screening?
It was a two-level parking garage.
Okay.
And had two different access points. One of the access points was actually closer to Gay Street.
just
So you
more
were entering
exposed.
from that entrance too, and so you were seeing some of the, and a lot of the screening that we did there with like greenery was at that elevation. When you're on Gay Street looking up at the building, you would see that double parking lot. Where here, this building's actually not even at that level where we're cutting into it, so it's not going to be seen very well from. It'll almost look like grade from the vantage point currently if you're on Gay Street walking up. And we do have another, I think, elevation that shows it from there is kind of how it would look.
And then
so you're not going to see.
Yeah, I'm thinking, like that's when you're driving down the highway looking south, what you're seeing up on the hill. So that's really why I was asking. But
And the parking lot's below grade, so as you're walking up now, you can envision looking down, and there would be there would be an access to get underneath the building. You know,
The first building came back all the way where that white pickup truck is in that.
further, really.
Yeah, even further back to the east.
Yeah.
We're looking west right now.
Yeah, I'm mentioning when you're driving on the highway coming south towards to the city, what do you see when you look up on the hill? But the thing is I've talked myself out of it, because if it's just one grade of parking, that's different than 2 and 3 levels of structured parking.
And we did not have this. I don't think we had the same greenery in the building that we had on the previous drawing. I think we just had maybe a 4-foot tall concrete block brick facade or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm curious too, because right now there's an existing like metal kind of fencing, whatever you want to call that, along the property line.
Not right now. There's not any fencing.
Oh, that's been removed?
Yeah, it's just, it's a hill. There's the sidewalk and you just fall, yeah.
There's a guardrail.
Oh, I'm sorry, on the north side of the lot.
That guardrail?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, gotcha.
Because I guess what I'm getting at is if that's removed and then you're underneath that garage, what's kind of keeping you, what barriers between?
Yeah, engineer would not, we'd have wheel stops, we'd have a guardrail, we'd have a wall or something, something to prevent vehicles going off.
And then is there any intent to add any sort of like gate or anything, or is this truly just open parking?
Not right now.
We don't have luck with gates. People break them. People break them on the arms. For years, I have friends downtown that had the arms. They tear, and then we have a expensive metal roll-up door. And believe it or not, like this weekend, we had somebody run into it again. So we'll have to figure something out. But the gates they're not the best solution.
Resident representative, so I'm coming at it from a resident perspective. I'm just thinking about security.
Exactly. Yeah.
If I'm coming in or out of that building, and I would be coming underneath, I would feel a little unsafe.
We're selling security downtown constantly to tenants, mothers and fathers, and I've been down there for 24 years, down here, building for 24 years, and that's a big concern with us also. Summit would have a lot of cameras, but again, I don't know if the door is the solution, because they'll even find another way. There's all those openings for the carbon monoxide to get out, and if they really want to get in, then they're going to get in.
There's a competitor apartment complex being built up on the hill that has no under the building parking across the street at Gay Street, the Hatcher Hill project, that doesn't have any parking. So there is some, we're going to have cameras. We may install a gate. I mean, we may bite that bullet. We just haven't made that decision yet. But I think there is, this project does have better security than a lot in terms of walking. If you're parking away from the building and walking to it, it's.
We have on-site too. We manage a lot of property downtown, and the whole idea is that this was going to be another economies of scale. If you looked at the drawings, you didn't see a leasing office in it and a fitness center and all that madness. This was designed to get this site that we've had control for a long time. We don't have it on here as phase 1, but it's really intended to be the beginning of multiple phases on it. It's just, let's get started with a manageable, sharp building, and then as we develop, it may have something much more elaborate with the, security.
The one thing to maybe consider that I just noticed on the kind of that parking level is where the elevator opens. It looks like it's opening just to like an open area rather than kind of behind a closed door, because the door goes, it looks like, to the stairs. So I don't know if there would be opportunity there to have it be where you had to go through a door before reaching the elevator.
The bottom line is we've not made even on Stockyard Loft, we didn't make the decision to put in gates until as we got into it. So we very well may make that decision, but I don't think it's a requirement under the certificate of appropriation. What we really want to do is get to designing the building, get further along, know that the basic scope of the project's where it is, and then we'll make that decision about whether it makes sense from a business standpoint to add those gates.
But to
which
support
literally,
Jared's
we
comment,
may very well do it.
To support his comment, if you add gates, then you're going to infill all of those openings with some screening, and that's going to look architecturally different. So it's a valid question. So to understand your intent is what we're discussing today. So that's why that's a good question.
Now,
What's
I would
that?
just say, as you develop your landscape plan, for instance, if you think more about the gates and other fencing that you might do, that might be a good time to bring that type of detail back to the board. Also, just something to consider, this would be a discussion with engineering. Usually gates do require some kind of queuing space off of the right-of-way, so we don't have cars waiting in the right-of-way for the gate to open. There's some solutions to that, but it'll be a conversation that you all have with engineering and just something to keep in mind.
I guess my only point is there's 2 levels of security. You got to have like 2 gates, and then you could choose to leave the hillside exposed. I mean, that's a choice.
We still
It's not
have
a
that whole
requirement.
surface parking lot, but I think what he's saying, what we're both saying is, of course, we want to work with you on it. I think that we learn things the hard way. Like, honestly, with somebody, pickup truck ran into one of the Stockyard Lofts gates, it's like $20,000. And then, we had to put more cameras in to see who ran into it. And then just this weekend, some girl, young college girl, and her mom, broad daylight, ran into the, and so it makes it where you can't even use it. And you're selling them, you're saying, you have secured parking, and then the gate's out of service, and then, they're calling, hey, I thought you said I had secure parking. So things have gotten more complicated.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just how it impacts I think for the board's purposes, just how it impacts visually the way the building looks. But
yeah, I think that what it'll be is just like kind of Mike was posturing too. Like if a gate's added and security infill's added, then that component would have to come back at some point, even if we approved it today. Just if that changes, we'll have to look at it. That's all.
Yeah. I will say I really appreciate this project. I'm excited to see it. I really like how much brick is used in this. I think as a board, we're supposed to discuss materials this evening. But I don't know. I'm excited for the amount of brick that's used. I think too, you've got a strong south-facing side with a lot of windows, and then that north side also has a ton of windows on it as well. So even from that perspective, I think I'm excited to see this project move along.
The brick is not exactly going to be that hue or color. It shows up differently, but we will. I know that image, the one before it looks a little pink. It's not going to quite look like that in terms of the exact color. We'll work to try to get it to be a real attractive looking color.
Yeah, and good eye. We like brick a lot too. We do real high quality projects. We're not from out of town. He and I are both, born and raised, whatever. And this is not institutional money, or this is local guys that take a lot of pride in what we do.
I had really one question, which is, do you have plans to build another one east of this one, since the site's big enough to bear it?
Yes, so we intentionally wanted to stay away from, I opened my big mouth about this is a phase one, because I didn't want to open, or we didn't want to open a can of worms about, what are you going to do? And, because we don't know for sure what we're going to do, but we're excited about having the option to have a remaining 6 to 7 tenths of buildable, usable square footage where, we originally were going to build 110 or 120 unit project that you all approved of. It was only a few years ago and the cost skyrocketed, so we put a stop to it. But we could build a 20-story building on the remaining land.
Well, I applaud the site use that you're reserving the rest of the site for future construction if necessary or not.
Yes.
If the economy doesn't bear it.
Yes, and currently it's being used as a parking lot and will continue to be used as a parking lot during this building as it's in operation, and then we'll in the future figure out exactly what we want to do with the next phase. One of the challenges with the original project was we had a garage. As you go up that hill, you end up going up 20 feet. So as we built a 2-level garage underneath that building, we had retaining walls that were 25 feet tall.
Yeah.
So it became very cost prohibitive quickly. And we were trying to get as much parking as we could to support the density of the project. So that, but we're just gonna have to see how how things shake out once we build this building. The rest of these units around it are occupied. What kind of density can be sustained, and what kind of use can be sustained. We know we can handle, these 32 some odd units, and we think this one will be a good project.
I appreciate the scale of this one. I think the incremental size of it is nice because it starts to step down to the other townhouses that are further down the street. And if one day you have a larger 20-story tower there, you can start to see how it gets taller as you get to Gay Street.
Yeah.
I think this is an elegant building overall. I like all the brick as well. I think you've done a really good job of breaking up the scale even within the smaller massing. 2 points. One, to Jared and Cameron's point about the parking, what will the ceiling of the parking look like? Because that's, I think you will see that from the Jackson Avenue side and the interstate side.
So we've not got that far into the details because what we need to do is get approval for this general appearance so that we can then go ahead and get CDs going. But I think the finished floor, the ceiling height is probably 10 feet. What does it say? What is that?
Says 9 feet.
And that is, that's going to be a post-tension concrete slab.
Exposed concrete.
But, the issue is you can get freezing and that sort of thing in garages. And so generally there is some sort of drop ceiling that allows for insulation or heating or something. I think we have heaters in Stockyard Lofts.
Yeah, we do.
Space. So that's otherwise you'd have to insulate the actual pipes, I guess. But you can run in, so it wouldn't be an exposed, most likely not an exposed concrete bottom. It'd be a drop ceiling or hard ceiling. I think Stockyard's actually hard ceiling with access panels.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that my concern is just that it not feel to the caliber of the rest of the building, and you would really see it from a lot of angles, honestly.
It would probably be a painted hard ceiling.
Okay.
With access panels is most likely.
Yeah, sprayed white.
Something I would just encourage you to do is just think about how the lighting is in there, because if you're on, to their point, if you're on Jackson, that's probably what you're going to see in an evening situation is the lighting fixtures shining. So.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It almost seems like an uplighting might be a good
scenario,
or hidden sources, that sort of thing.
Yeah. So we didn't, like Daniel said, we did not start our CDs. This is kind of a progressive, logical.
We don't want to do it twice.
And then tomorrow we'll start on the construction drawing.
Sure. Yeah. Understood.
Yeah.
Can I ask about the fiber cement that you're using? So you've got fiber cement siding panel with fry reglets. So tell me more about what the siding is, because a mistake, myself included, of the board is that we've allowed lap siding, which is extremely residential and is not in character to our downtown. And I do not want to see that on this project. So what's your intention of that is, when you say fiber cement siding, what kind of siding is it?
I mean, I think that right there, because it's accent material, it is kind of lap siding.
Could it be shiplap with a reveal between it and not lapped over?
Mean, we've done. We could also look at doing the system that has the rain traps in the middle of it or whatever. That we did that on Stockyard Loft.
It's like panels.
We could do. I'll have to talk to we can talk to the architect, but
yeah. And on that same
we're
question,
not married to lap siding.
It's that project, when you hold your hand over it, or if you hold your hand and just look at the middle, it looks like a residential, like a college, bad college project. But then you take your hand off and you're like, okay, this can be good. It's just that the horizontal at the top is resonating of lesser projects around our city. And I think that either it's vertical siding that is more in kind to commercial and less like residential, like a house. Like lap siding makes sense on a single family home when we were doing those infill projects. But Here, I think like you've got fiber cement panels with metal reglets. So that wrap that's going over the end, like the corners, like that's painted. It's not got a batten strip on it. It's got a reveal reglet. That's different than a batten. The batten screws it up. The batten looks cheap. It looks like bad developer-driven housing.
You know, it depends on the project. You know, we had batten strips on the Crozier project and at a corner of, and it's at the top floor.
Yeah, I know that.
You
know that
I don't
project.
think it looks terribly.
Just real quick, I just want to be sure we're incorporating all into the conversation. Is there any comments from anybody else in the audience that's present? Wanted to give opportunity for that as well. Okay. If not, we're good to continue this discussion. I just wanted to be sure.
We'll take a look at it, but you know, I would say that we have used a lot of brick, and I think I could point out a bunch of projects that you guys have passed that have done not 1/10 of the amount of brick on this project. So, you know, I think that we can talk to the architect about different options, but I would, you know, I don't think the amount of fiber cement is crazy on this project at this location.
No, nothing I'm saying is asking about is questioning the amount. I'm asking the profile. I just want to know that when you write the word fiber cement siding, that is a plethora of
right now
versions.
Right now, the detail, I think, as you said, it's a lap detail, right?
All right, well then if we approve it today, I'm going to say shiplap, which is going to have a reveal between it as a nickel gap and not an actual lapped material. Do you understand that? Like it's different than, that's what I'm trying to get to, and I think that that's a better.
Does it say in the guidelines that we're not allowed to?
Well, your drawings don't say what it is. I'm saying we have to interpret it. So today we need to decide what it is.
In the details that are in the very back of it, they're small details, so it's kind of hard to see, but there is one that shows it as a standard siding.
It's a lap. It's actually laid over each other. Okay. And then with the reglet reveals, that's just going to be a reveal and not a batten. That's just an actual painted reglet is what you guys are describing for the project.
Yeah, honestly, this is out of my wheelhouse, that level of detail. But we are both very sensitive about the college project, the student housing, and so I think we can.
Yeah, I mean, we can look at. We want to get moving forward on our design. If you would like to, you know, post some, you know, recommendations and guidance, and but you know, I think the intent of the guidelines of this board is not to dictate what kind of siding we can use, but to judge the overall use of materials on the project, and you know, make suggestions. But I'm not used to this level of someone telling us that we have to use shiplap.
Well, to Mike's
at a
critique,
specific
you guys
instance.
do have the lap siding as your detail here at the bottom, so I see that now. That's what you're showing as your. I was saying that for the fact that I did not see you specifying it, and we have to approve something, and if you've got it actually drawn there as your detail, then that's different than just not having an answer. So you have an answer. It's on the last page,
And if
top right detail.
If we wanted to change to a different type of fiber cement, would we have to come back to this board? In terms of like, maybe we want to go to what you're talking about.
Like a shiplap.
I mean, do we have to come back here for that?
Well, that's a bigger discussion.
Well, frequently we'll allow staff to make, you know, calls on minor changes.
Yeah.
So if the material remains the same, but the detailing may change. And they're pretty good about making judgments like, wait, that's a little more than I'm comfortable with.
I mean, I'm sensitive to what you're
changing.
saying, and you know, we'll look at it and see about using alternatives like what we used on other projects. And it's not going to be a major cost implication. I just, you know, it's something that we're going to get in more detail as we go, and we can, I think something like that, we can send to staff, and we might be able to incorporate what you're asking.
Right.
One thing I noticed on the new renderings was your signage, which I know will have to come back for the signage package anyway, but the scale of it is a lot larger than what's shown here. Can you clarify what your intent is
Yeah,
there?
the first drawing, we got staff comments, and they made comments. They didn't number comments. They made comments about the cornices. They made comments about, and we've tried to incorporate a lot of their direction of what they kind of probably knew, some of the things that would come up. So we decreased the size of that sign substantially, and there was actually fiber cement going all the way down I think it's a stairwell there. And so we changed to, 3/4 brick.
So this is the latest.
This is the latest.
version.
This is what
Okay.
we approved.
Yeah, I like the green screen. I think that'll be nice with the backlighting, and I think the proportions of what you have now is a lot nicer.
So are these going to be rentals?
Yes.
Yeah.
For, Lee's famous for doing Sturkey Loft and then condoing it in the future. So, it may be condoed at some future time, but for at least the foreseeable future, we'll start out with rentals, and then as we get further along with the project, we'll kind of make a determination if it will stay that way for.
Yeah, you gotta hit it just right. We were gonna do condos a year ago, and there's a lot of condos for sale right now, and interest rates are high. Lisa, it's been around with me down here for a long time, but this is the best time to go in and not be a hero and just build a real quality rental project. But I would say there's a very high probability in 7 to 10 years there'll be condos. It's the perfect size.
I'll say one last thing, and to the applicant, I'm in no way trying to decline your project. So you keep somewhat threatening, like, well, can you do that or not? I'm not trying to go outside my bounds. I'm trying to take every project to be another chance to improve our downtown. And I don't think that lap siding is appropriate for downtown. And we have approved projects with lap siding, and just the more I'm seeing it go up, it doesn't look in kind to what our city should be. I think it would be actually better for you to use more of your cement panel with the metal reglets rather than the horizontal lap siding. That's an opinion, and no, today I cannot make you do that. I'm posing that to the rest of the board. That's something that I think will make your project better and not make it look like a residential college project. It'll look like a better, sophisticated commercial project that it is, and not something that could be anywhere.
I appreciate it. We will definitely take that into consideration, and I agree with you.
Yeah, just want to, so the design guidelines regarding building materials says new building materials should relate to the scale, durability, color, and texture of the predominant building materials in the area. So the board has a lot of leeway to determine what that is.
You brought up some good points and all. I mean, Daniel is in the details more than I am too. You guys are very technical, but we want the same thing. We have the same goal.
Just don't do lap.
No problem.
All right. Is there any additional discussion? If not, we'll entertain a motion.
If I included in the motion that they shouldn't use lap, is that, that's our interpretation, right? And
I would go ahead and just give a specific alternative to that. Yeah,
well,
because it could go a lot of different directions if it's just not lap. Like, what is it going to be?
Let's run it through the test of the last project. Does anyone else on the board agree or disagree with that, or are they okay with the lap siding? So it's not just me saying that.
So one point, I just want to. So is this going to be a precedent that there will never be, when I go down the streets of Knoxville for the next 20 years, I will not see one new project with lap siding?
I hope so.
Yeah. Every project is reviewed on
get written
their
into the
own
guidelines,
merit.
then.
So,
Well, that's the case.
Yeah.
We actually had scheduled a workshop to discuss siding materials specifically, which we will be doing in the near future.
Yeah, I also agree with Cameron. I'm not as hard line, I wouldn't say, but I do agree it would make the project better.
Yeah, I'm of the opinion I do think it would help your project just to avoid the lap siding because it does seem like the outlier on the palette. And it doesn't sound like you guys have real strong feelings about one, it could be something.
No.
I don't know how we phrase that, but a lot of the alternatives we're discussing instead of the sloped lap residential look would be more of an orthogonal, like either a shiplap with a reveal or the material you have behind the signage that's like the square panel, but something that's square instead of sloped would be a nice fit for the look you're going for. And we could list a few of those that would comply, which would be like the Reglet system reveal panel combination, shiplap, any kind of, vertical and gap, that kind of thing.
Can you also include something about the garage ceiling, that it's a hard ceiling since it's not noted?
That comment made me think of something else. The underneath on the porches, what material is intended for there? Because where my brain goes is there's a project on Henley Street where it is wood, just exposed wood joist.
My guess is it's some sort of hardy fiber cement soffit, because it's a rated assembly, and I think there, right? Or otherwise it's some
kind of internal.
So I guess there's two different conditions, right? There's the one there at the column, where you see the vertical column there, and then there's some like right in the middle on the two elevations where you see the windows there. That's actually a balcony, right? So go on the very elevation 1 on the top left. You see those two brick, yellow brick, kind of like go up over.
We could just
you see where the top balcony is? Underneath that is a balcony condition, right? So that I would think would be a hardy 1 hour ceiling assembly, I would think.
I think all we have to do is just include as a condition that it needs to have a finished material under those, on the awnings and the underside of balconies.
I don't think a 5-story building can have that condition.
We've got precedent that it can, and it can just have exposed framing, and that's not good. So
can it?
I don't know if it can or can't per code. I'm saying that there's somebody that's got some balconies exposed with just pressure treated framing for the world to see.
I think that flushes out in the construction drawings as well. I don't think, we can tell you confidently of what it is right now, because it wasn't intended to be that level of detail.
The other, if you move to the other balcony, those are, go not that one, but on the outside there.
Those are metal, or them says metal, but.
We will have to defer, but it surely is wrapped in fiber cement, and if you want to make that a requirement or some sort of exterior cladding, that'd be fine.
Yep.
I'm almost.
All right. Just go for it, Sarah.
All right. Mike, if you don't mind going back to the staff recommendations for my script. All right. Okay, I make a motion that we approve for staff recommendations and include provisions that all fiber cement cladding should be, I'm going to say orthogonal, mean that it's straight, not a sloped lap, which could be this proposed material, but we'll say an orthogonal fiber cement cladding, and that all ceiling conditions have a finished ceiling rather than exposed structure.
Here's one question. Would you guys have, I'm just thinking out loud,
all right,
because we'll have to get with the architect on the ceiling to just ask the question. I mean, I think economically, we would most likely have that hard ceiling, but it didn't sound like you guys were opposed to like a concrete ceiling if we insulated the pipes. Or do you not want to see a concrete?
If I'm understanding correctly, I think in what Sarah noted was specific to the porches, the balconies, yeah.
The balconies, not
Okay, so you're not talking about the garage structure, okay.
No, just that.
I'll second that motion.
All right, so we've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion from the board? Okay, hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? No. All right. All right, thank you very much. Motion carries.
Thank you.
And I believe that wraps us up for the evening. Thank you all for bearing with me as I made my way through that. So have a good one.